live camera we have this morning. Candace is keeping an eye on any accidents, and Megan will let you know when that fog will clear. It's Wednesday, August 16th, and 12 News Today continues now.
On your side, this is NBC 12 News Today.
Yeah, you're going to want to be careful as you leave the house today because that fog is going to impact visibility, as you can see on this map here behind us.
Yeah, let's get on over to Megan so we know how it's going to impact your drive-in. Megan?
Visibility, especially if you're west or northwest of town, less than a mile reduced due to that fog. Hanover out towards Louisa, Charlottesville seeing less than a half a mile. If you're traveling north up towards Fredericksburg, less than a quarter of a mile, and that stretches down towards Mecklenburg County too. It looks like South Hills less than a half a mile. So make sure you use extra caution. If your commute takes you up towards DC, they are also being affected by the fog, less than a quarter of a mile. Dense fog advisory for that area runs until 9 a.m. We should get the fog lifted by that time frame, and we are looking at a mainly dry commute though. No rain to talk about this morning. It's warm, it's humid, low 70s. Highs today are going to be very warm. We'll top out near 90 degrees. Factor in that humidity, it is going to feel hot. Candace, what do you got?
Megan, so I went back to this VDOT camera that we showed you guys just before the break. This is the same area, I-95 near 295. This is the ramp from 295 to 95. So it's still pretty foggy in the area, not as bad as what we were seeing about 10-15 minutes ago, but still you want to use some caution as you're heading out this morning. As I mentioned, we were seeing some slowdowns in this area, and I think it was actually due to the fog. As of right now, we're back to being clean and green along 295 and that mix and merge towards 95. Heading back towards the city here, moving the map. We're not seeing a lot of backups, which is great news. Southbound 95. If you're heading out through that Bryan Park interchange, the mix and merge from 95 to 64 and I-195. Eric, you're in great shape.
All right, like to hear that. Thanks, Candace. Well, while you were sleeping, Confederate monuments were covered up and taken down in 2 different cities. Colleen is following this breaking story from our First Alert Center. Good morning.
Yeah, Eric, a lot of this in response, of course, to the violence in Charlottesville, but it's all coming into the First Alert Center in the last couple hours. So let me walk you through this. The Birmingham City crews arrived at the Confederate Soldiers and Sailors Monument late last night after the city's mayor ordered those monuments covered up. You see them there doing so on your screen. Well, Alabama law says the monuments can't actually be removed, so the mayor wants them hidden from view while the city looks at legal options to take them down entirely. But meanwhile, that's exactly what happened in Baltimore. Crews were seen removing some of the city's Confederate monuments early this morning. Monday night, the city council in Baltimore cited Charlottesville's events when adopting a resolution for the immediate destruction of these monuments. And before dawn this morning, Baltimore's Lee and Jackson monuments, as well as the Roger Taney monuments, were removed. You're seeing right now the sun's coming up, so we're getting a better look. This was just a few moments ago in Baltimore. I believe that is the Lee and Jackson monuments. You see the base appears to have been vandalized since the actual structure was taken down. Now, it's not entirely known where the monuments are going to go that were removed. It's possible that they could be heading to some Confederate cemeteries. Sarah?
All right, thank you, Colleen. We know you'll be watching, and tell us what happens. Meanwhile, let's take a live look here outside the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville. This is this morning. In just a few hours, there will be a memorial service for 32-year-old Heather Heyer, who of course was a victim of Saturday's violence. Sam Welty is well known for his murals at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. He's in Charlottesville this morning to paint a mural in honor of Heather. It's going to be done quickly. It'll be going up downtown near the mall, a few blocks from where Heather was killed when that car came crashing into the group of counter-protesters.
There's nothing that I like more as an artist, that I enjoy and value more, than telling wonderful stories about great people who do great things. This is an incredible opportunity. I'm glad that they thought of me, and I'm glad that I was available.
The mural is expected to be finished by the time Heather's memorial service begins at 11, so we'll be sure to be there, and we're going to bring you complete coverage.
Today in Richmond, faith leaders will come together in prayer in response to Saturday's violence in Charlottesville. Richmond Clergy Against Racism will hold a vigil at the 3rd Street Bethel AME Church. The vigil begins at 6:30 this evening and will be open to the public. The Richmond Clergy Against Racism formed just last year to address racism and to work on some solutions.
And also happening today, a wreath-laying ceremony for one of the Virginia State Troopers killed in a helicopter crash this weekend. The Richmond Generals are honoring Trooper Pilot Burke Bates at 11 a.m. this morning at VSP headquarters on Midlothian Turnpike. That's where the memorial continues to grow around his cruiser. Visitations for Trooper Bates will be Thursday between 1 and 3 and from 5 until 7 at Nelson Funeral Home on South Laburnum Avenue. The funeral will be Friday at 11 a.m. at the St. Paul's Baptist Church on Creighton Road. And the visitation for Lieutenant Jay Cullen, the second trooper killed in the crash, will be Friday from 5 until 8 at the Bennett Funeral Home in Chesterfield. His funeral will be Saturday at 10 at the Southside Church of the Nazarene.
Today, a North Carolina college student accused of toppling a Confederate statue in Durham will be in court. 22-year-old Takia Thompson was arrested and charged with participation in a riot with property damage. The North Carolina Central University student used a ladder to reach the top of the Confederate soldiers' monument so she could wrap a strap around it, allowing protesters to pull it down. You can see it right there. Thompson was given $10,000 unsecured bond.
Yeah, we'll follow that court case for you. Meanwhile, President Trump's criticism of the violence in Charlottesville is not sitting well with other politicians. During a news conference where he was expected to talk about rebuilding infrastructure, the president went off script, blaming counter-protesters for contributing to the atmosphere that led to the deadly car attack. Former KKK leader David Duke thanked the president on Twitter for his support, and reaction from lawmakers on both sides has been swift.
I don't think anybody should be looking at getting props from a grand dragon of the KKK as any kind of sign of success.
Stunning abdication of moral leadership by the President of the United States.
And amid this controversy, now 6 CEOs have resigned from the President's Manufacturing Council. That number has doubled in just 24 hours. And new nuggets of the story continue popping up. We're following the chaos, but also the healing and what's coming next. We're going to keep passing those along to you. So stay with NBC 12 on air and online for the latest on the chaos in Charlottesville and beyond.
SOL scores were released yesterday, and this morning we're breaking down what they reveal about Richmond schools. Statewide scores remained pretty steady, but for Richmond Public Schools, there was a dip in reading, math, and science. The district's performance is among the worst in the Commonwealth, as a matter of fact. According to the Richmond Times-Dispatch, former Superintendent Dr. Dana Bedden responded to the results, saying schools should be about more than passing a test. To see how your child's school district is performing, go to NBC12.com and click All Access.
All right, it's 6:37 now. If you could use a good news story this morning, come on in. Texting the wrong number by mistake, awkward. But in this case, it turned out a whole lot better than expected. Justin Campbell sent this photo of himself at graduation. He thought he sent it to someone he knew. It turns out it was a guy named Roger Hawkins, someone he didn't know. And instead of blowing him off, he replied with this, a thumbs up selfie and a text saying, hey, sky's the limit. He even sent an iTunes playlist to get Campbell pumped up. I'd love to know what was on that playlist. Campbell tweeted these screenshots of the encounter and mistakenly left up Hawkins' phone number. So now he says he's gotten texts from several other recent grads. They're all looking for words of encouragement too.
They're like, hey, share the love.
Right.
I need some of that.
And
Yeah.
he did share the love. He just kept texting all of the hundreds and thousands of people that were tweeting and texting him. That's crazy.
Now, you posted this on your Facebook
I
page.
did. It's a great story. It's
Yeah, it
funny,
really
but
is.
it's also, it's just great to see stuff like that, you know?
It is, especially in today's climate. We need a little bit of this love being shared,
Yeah.
around.
Spread
So
the
that was
love.
great,
All right,
yeah.
share the love, Megan.
Right.
Sorry.
Share it. I'll share the humidity with you.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sometimes sharing is not caring.
Visibility this morning is still pretty thick as far as fog goes. Hanover, half a mile reduced visibility. You just saw Fredericksburg go down to near zero, so make sure you're using plenty of caution. If you are traveling north this morning along 95, Louisa, you are at less than a mile as well. Seeing improvements, though, back towards Farmville, up towards Charlottesville, where I've been watching it be less than a quarter of a mile. So improving. We should get all that fog lifted here by mid-morning. Temperature-wise, as you're walking out the door, it's low 70s, and we have no relief. And as far as the humidity goes, we have another very humid day, muggy all afternoon long. When you factor that into a temperature near 90 degrees, it is going to make it feel even hotter, but we're mainly dry today. We'll see some sunshine and some clouds. Eric and Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Well, a majority of you are going to want to listen to this because it turns out 80% of Americans don't have enough money in the event of an emergency. Up next, Rachel DePompa has a financial fix for your family.
Plus, we're talking tacos. One of RVA's most popular Mexican joints is looking to expand. Find out how you can have a say in where Don't Look Back goes next.
All right, and we are accident-free, but Megan's been talking about this fog here behind me all morning long. You can barely see the cars. This is 95 near Sliding Hill, so we'll have an update with weather and traffic coming up right after the break.
You're watching NBC 12 News, recognized as a top news station in America, honored with a National Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence, and honored to be on your side.
It's 6:43. The popular Carytown restaurant Don't Look Back could be opening a second location. The current restaurant is closed for repairs. That's because of a fire in early July, of course. The owner says it would be at least 6 months before they're able to reopen that store. But in a Facebook post this week, the restaurant is asking where you'd like to see a second location. Hundreds of you are weighing in. The owner tells the Richmond Times-Dispatch that they've always considered expanding, but the fire may just have them doing it sooner rather than later.
Wells Fargo is shaking up its board of directors with a move that makes history in the banking industry. The scandal-ridden bank has tapped Elizabeth Duke to be the first female chairwoman of a top U.S. bank. Duke will replace outgoing chairman Stephen Sanger on January 1st. Last September, Wells Fargo admitted it created some 2 million potentially fake accounts, and more recently, Wells Fargo apologized for charging more than 500,000 customers for car insurance they did not need. Well, if you're living paycheck to paycheck like so many of us are, just one emergency could spell trouble. Luckily, Rachel DePompa is here this morning, and she's got the solution to the most common financial problems.
Well, no two families are identical, but one thing far too many families do have in common is a money crunch. A new report shows 50% of Americans can't handle an unexpected bill that costs $100. 80% of you couldn't handle a $1,000 emergency. That report from Bloomberg and New America makes it clear too few families have any kind of safety net. The Virginia Credit Union says the easiest way to build an emergency fund is set up an auto deposit out of each paycheck to savings. If that's $50 a check, it will add up over time.
Things happen in life that we have no control over, and if we don't have money put aside, then we tend to then have to rely on credit cards or other sorts of short-term loans with higher interest rates.
Another common problem, nearly a third of Americans are only making the minimum payment each month on their credit card debt. If you're a good customer, call your lender and ask for a lower interest rate. Many lenders will. Or transfer your balance to a 0% interest rate, then figure out how to pay back what you owe before that period ends. You've got to do some research on both investing and budgeting. Try downloading a budgeting app that's free like Mint. That way you can track both your savings and your spending. On your side with this consumer alert, Rachel DePompa, NBC 12 News.
Time now for our morning sprint. All the big stories you need to know about before you head out the door.
And let's start with Colleen Quigley. She's in the First Alert Center, and she has some new details on a deadly crash in Chesterfield.
Yes, Sarah, that crash happened just before 10 last night when a red pickup hit a concrete barrier on the Powhite Parkway in Chesterfield on 288 near the Powhite exit. This is video from overnight of the scene. State police say the woman driving that truck ended up getting out of her car and wandering onto the roadway. Well, that's when she was hit by an oncoming car. She died at the scene. No one else was hurt. The lanes were closed overnight, but everything is back open for your morning commute.
Well, I'm live at the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville, where in just a few hours, a memorial for Heather Heyer will be held. The 32-year-old paralegal was run down on Saturday while protesting the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. She, along with hundreds of others, took to the streets to denounce racism and white supremacy. That's when police say 20-year-old James Alex Fields Jr. ran his car into a group of protesters, killing Heyer and injuring 19 people. Now, Heyer is remembered as an outgoing and passionate individual and had a special regard for social injustices, especially those concerning race relations. And that memorial, again, will be here at the Paramount Theater this morning at 11 o'clock. We're going to be there, and we'll bring you the latest on air, online, and on our news app. For now, on your side live in Charlottesville, I'm Allison Norleon, NBC 12 News.
And the man suspected of burning an American flag that was attached to a home in Richmond's Fan District will be in court today. Andrew Rosas turned himself into police after this video was shared nearly 2,000 times on the NBC 12 Facebook page. The Floyd Avenue home was also damaged. Investigators charged Rosas with arson. He is due in court at 9 a.m.
Also due in court later this morning, a Hanover gymnastics coach accused of having sex with an underage student. 31-year-old Matthew Pitko was a co-owner and coach at Ariel East Gym in Mechanicsville. Investigators tell NBC 12 they got a tip about an inappropriate relationship between Pidco and a female student. A representative from Ariel East says Pidco is not associated with that gym anymore.
Well, take a look at that billboard. We're live here. Tonight's Powerball jackpot stands at a whopping $430 million. More than 2 million people played Saturday night, and even though no one hit the jackpot, Lotto players around the country still won $19 million in prizes. We'll have the winning numbers on 12 News at 11.
Weather and traffic every 10 minutes. Here's Megan.
All right, the fog is as thick as pea soup here. This is one of our traffic cameras. VDOT camera, you can't even see the cars going. Candace will talk more about the traffic. Also not a good day for soup because it's going to be really hot. Our comfort index is a 3 out of 10. If we can put there we go, perfect. We are going to have that fog through about mid-morning, and right when you walk out the door, still feels humid. That is not going to change through the afternoon either. That sticks with us all day today. And here's a look at our visibility map. I have seen some improvements back towards Farmville and Charlottesville. You're up to a mile, but still seeing less than a half a mile in places like Hanover, up towards Fredericksburg, Louisa, still seeing a great deal of fog. So make sure that you just use a lot of extra caution as you are driving early this morning. There are dense fog advisories for Northern Virginia if you're maybe traveling up towards D.C. this morning. They are being impacted by fog as well, with visibilities less than a quarter of a mile. That advisory runs until 9 o'clock this morning. Temperatures low 70s to start across the area. It's warm. And we are mainly dry today. No rain to talk about on First Alert Doppler radar. Tracking the tropics, if you have been following Gert here, still a hurricane, Category 1. Since yesterday morning when I talked about it, it has increased in strength. It has 90-mile-per-hour winds, and it's moving a little faster towards the northeast at 21 miles per hour. No impact to our weather at all through the day today. We'll see some sunshine and some clouds after we get that fog lifted. Upper 70s by 10 o'clock. 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're in the mid-80s. High temperatures close to 90 degrees. Factor in that humidity. It is going to feel even hotter, so make sure you're staying cool, staying hydrated. One thing to note, the sun sets tonight at 8 o'clock. This is the last night we have the sunset at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow, the sun starts setting in the 7 o'clock hour, so days getting shorter each night. Partly cloudy this evening, still staying humid. We'll start tomorrow morning in the low 70s. We do have increased rain chances starting tomorrow through Saturday, afternoon and evening. Not a washout any of these days, but do be aware that we'll see some showers and storms popping up afternoon and evening time frame. Temperature-wise, not really moving a whole lot. It stays hot, 90 degrees through the weekend. Sunday, if you have any plans, we're dry, partly sunny, close to 90 degrees. Eclipse on Monday is still looking good, partly sunny skies, temperature-wise, 90 degrees. Candace?
All right, Megan, you said the fog was as thick as pea soup. I've never had pea soup, but by the look of this fog, it's going to be pretty thick. It's thick. So be careful as you're heading out. This is our VDOT camera, I-95 near Sliding Hill. We've seen a lot of fog in this area, Sliding Hill, near the Parham Road exit and at that mix and merge from 95 and 295. Looks like we're almost seeing a few cars in this area, but nonetheless, be very careful as you're heading out. Surprisingly, no accidents or incidents to report right now, so that's great news as you're heading out this morning. Here's a quick look at the James River Air sky view, though. Still clean and green in this area where we're seeing a lot of that fog this morning. The Bryant Park interchange in great shape, but if your commute takes you along 64 this morning from Bottoms Bridge to Shockoe Bridge, we're on time with a 13-minute commute. It's usually about a 14-minute commute, so we're below the average commute time there. Oilville to Staples Mill about 18 minutes, and if your commute takes you along I-95, smooth sailing north and southbound. Crater Road to the Downtown Expressway northbound, 21 minutes. Sarah?
Okay, thank you, Candace. Well, this weekend, NBC 12 is teaming up with several local animal shelters to find every pet a home. It's a nationwide event called Clear the Shelters. On Saturday, most shelters are waiving or lowering adoption fees. For the full list of shelters participating and to see some of the pets ready to find new homes, head over to NBC12.com/pets, and we'll be right back with one good thing.
Today's traffic is sponsored by James River Air.
Sky 12, taking you places no one else can.
Giving you new perspective on stories that shape our community.
Clearer, closer. The first alert from Sky 12 on NBC 12 News.
Before we go, we want to leave you with one good thing. We want to highlight these deputies from the Powhatan County Sheriff's Office. Despite yesterday's rain, they got out there to install a ramp at someone's home. They said luckily the ramp and the deputies are both waterproof. And this is not the first ramp they've installed. Earlier this month, a 93-year-old Powhatan resident got one installed at his home. Thanks again to the Powhatan Sheriff's Office. So thanks so much for your service, going above and beyond.
That'll mean a lot.
Love it.
So very sweet. One last look at the weather here. We have visibility map. Fog has been an issue all morning long, especially if you were west or north of town. You just saw the numbers tick down up towards Hanover, Louisa, Spotsylvania County, Caroline County, all near zero. Candace will show you what is this? A camera view. There we go. Of a lot of fog. So just make sure you're using a lot of caution as you're driving. That fog should be lifted by mid-morning. We'll see some sunshine this afternoon, temperature-wise near 90 degrees.
Right. This VDOT camera is I-95 right near Sliding Hill, surrounds mile marker 86. She was mentioning that fog in Hanover, right? That's where you were going to see. So if you're heading northbound, you're just going to keep running into that fog. So just use caution as you're heading out this morning. Surprisingly, we are still accident-free, so a great start to your Wednesday.
All right, we like accident-free. Well, remember, we will have that live team coverage of Heather Heyer's memorial service. It begins at 11 this morning at the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville. But today's show is up next here on NBC 12, but your local news continues at 7 a.m. over on Fox Richmond. We'll see you there. Have a good morning.